And greetings. Happy Thursday. Welcome here, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Steve Deace here alongside Todd Erzin, Aaron McIntyre, and all of you. Let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook and also follow us on Twitter at Steve Deace Show. Look for us on MeWe Parler, Gab, and Getter. And then you can also get clips of the show for free and that are free of censorship when you go to rumble.com/Steve Deace Show as well. And the last name is, of course, spelled DEACE. We're going to give you the rundown of today's program. But first, a very important word about my underwear. That's right. That's why you all tuned in to hear me talk about my underwear yet again. I love talking about my underwear. I even love wearing it because, is that TMI or is this working?
This is where my limits on your coattails kind of find.
This is where you tap out and you're like, you're on your own here, bro.
I mean, it makes me.
This is now where you're like Mo Ukraine, basically. Yes. Okay. So let's continue talking about my skivvies, which you can also, if you want to wear the same underwear as me.
Exactly.
That didn't come out right. If you want to wear the same brand of underwear that I trust, there we go. Is that better?
That's
yes.
A little bit more polished.
Right. Yes, thank you. Then you, of course, can go to Tommy John. It is the best underwear on the market, and my own wallet agrees because after they gave me the first few pairs for free, just to try them out for an endorsement, I loved it so much, I've gone back and ordered several more pairs on my own. Can't give a product a better endorsement than I spend my own money on it, all right? And it's Tommy John's anniversary month, so whether you're trying them for the first time or you're a longtime fan, get 25% off site-wide right now. And yes, they've got stuff for the ladies too. When you go to TommyJohn.com/Steve, 25% off. I think that's the biggest discount we've ever offered with them on this show. 25% off for their anniversary month right now at TommyJohn.com/Steve. All right, coming up here at the bottom of the hour, the woman who has clearly upset the system, Kathy Barnette, Pennsylvania GOP U.S. Senate candidate, will be joining us here at the bottom of the hour. And just to give you an idea of what has transpired in that race, since she called out Trump's transhumanist Mitt Romney wannabe liberal endorsement Mehmet Oz for being not pro-life to his face at the last debate. Since that occurred, it has completely destabilized this race. And now Oz is going on Newsmax. So Trump's transhumanist endorsement is going on Newsmax and accusing Mike Pompeo, who is Trump's longest-serving administration official. And I think we all know, if there's one thing it's hard to do, is to be Trump's longest-serving anything. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen.
Okay. I mean, and he did it in two of the most high-profile positions in an administration, CIA and Secretary of State. Is there any pressure associated with either one of those two positions, might you think? Particularly given your boss, who of course has no problems, and usually rightfully so, alienating the intelligence community, and was completely flipping the paradigm on foreign policy, which he turned out to be, frankly, the most right about of anything in his administration. So yeah, no stress at all being in those two jobs, right? And if you're going to do them for Donald Trump, he better trust you, you would assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's a racist now. Mike Pompeo was called a racist yesterday, basically, by Mehmet Oz on Newsmax. I mean, this race is going great. I mean, this is going swell, and it's all because this woman stepped forward and dared to offer people an alternative to vote for. No more, oh gosh, I don't want to vote for Oz, and I don't know about this McCormick guy. And we're in the final few days, and you're seeing right now, MAGA world is at max lit right now. I mean, you have Rick Grinnell, who's at war with numerous other luminaries within the MAGA world on social media. You've got Steve Bannon's right-hand man just tweeted a moment ago, Sean Hannity now belongs on CNN because of all of his Mehmet Oz stuff. We've got spliced videos. You were telling me about this before the show, right, Aaron? All right. I mean, the palace intrigue on this is high, but let us not forget why. It is not that Kathy Barnette stepped forward with some trite talking point. Let us not forget this. Or some technicality, or somebody misspoke. She stepped forward on the most signature issue of this age. Am I a human being or not? When am I a human being or not? When must you recognize that I am a human being or not? So we will speak to her at the bottom of this hour. Next hour, hopefully you're really fired up by what Kathy has to say, because you probably won't be by what comes next. I nearly pulled the plug this morning. I'm just going to tell you guys the truth. Okay? I got up this morning and I said, I don't think I can do this anymore.
There's still time.
I thought you were going to... I expected you to say to me, dude, you cannot punk out.
No, punk away.
Oh my. Oh my. Have we reached Mr. Vinegar is a delicacies breaking point? Aaron, mark this tape. Is this legit?
Spring is in the air. Got a new box of wine. Like, I'm footloose and fancy free, man.
You're a little seductress, all right? Don't tempt me, man. All right? This is Band of Brothers now. We all get together. We're the accountability group. All right? Don't do it. Don't do it. All right? Stay strong, man. Stay on the path. I guess we don't know now what Theology Thursday will be next hour. We shall find out. And then we have 3 non-political questions as well.
What I was really inspired, the most inspired thing I was by today when I got on Twitter and saw there's a giant black hole in the middle of the Milky Way, and I said, talk to me, baby.
So you're saying there's a chance. Yes. But before we get to all of those zany hijinks, of course, we begin, as we always do, with Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by the Full Court Press. Establishment hacks, along with allies of Donald Trump, are going to war against upstart Pennsylvania GOP Senate primary candidate Kathy Barnette. Former Trump Director of National Intelligence Rick Grinnell led the effort yesterday, along with a mysterious political action committee who pushed out a slanderous video filled with out-of-context tweets and videos of Barnette. Sean Hannity took a significant amount of time on his Fox News show last night to trash Barnette as well. It's clear Trump's inner orbit is increasingly incensed that an upstart candidate like this could be upstaging their chosen candidate in the Pennsylvania GOP primary, leftist Mehmet Oz. Another win for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, as a federal judge has dismissed a lawsuit challenging the law passed by the Florida legislature, stripping the Walt Disney Company of its special self-governing privileges in Central Florida. The lawsuit was filed last week on behalf of 3 Orange and Osceola County residents by a Democrat lawyer who's running for U.S. Senate. A new poll from CWS Research on a potential 2024 Texas presidential Republican primary finds Donald Trump still in the lead in the Lone Star State, but down a couple of notches from the previous iteration of this poll at 44%, followed by DeSantis, who's up 8 points from the previous iteration at 28%. In a field without Trump, DeSantis wipes the floor at 56%, with nobody else coming remotely close. An FBI whistleblower to the House Judiciary Committee revealed that the Bureau has indeed labeled dozens of investigations into parents of school children with a threat tag that was developed by the FBI's Counterterrorism Division, so there's that. Anthony Fauci, the nation's foremost expert on epidemiology and the government's highest paid bureaucrat, was asked to define what a pandemic is.
Criteria, are there benchmarks? What kind of a process will we go through to make that determination?
No, there is really no firm, widely acceptable definition. When one talks about pandemic, you talk about a highly transmissible infection that is essentially widely distributed throughout the globe.
The CEO of the restaurant and entertainment review app Yelp says Roe v. Wade is, quote, saving countless lives, which is why his company is promising to pay the travel expenses of its employees seeking abortions if the SCOTUS ruling is struck down. Yelp is one of many companies in recent days to make this promise, along with Amazon and Tesla, to name a couple. Learning Chinese today, today's phrase is, killing a baby is cheaper than maternity leave.
杀死婴儿比产假便宜。
The Senate defeated a bill the other day that would allow baby killing nationwide up to the point of birth. The Senate defeated the bill 51-49. Elizabeth Warren has some thoughts on that and math.
I believe in democracy. And I don't believe that the minority should have the ability to block things that the majority want to do. That's not in the Constitution.
Anyway, here's Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers. Is it imaginable?
I think that is imaginable.
And finally, this from the Babylon Bee. Starving American babies disguise selves as Ukrainian soldiers in hopes of getting $40 billion in federal aid. And that's what happened while we were away.
Ouch. Aaron's montage brought to you by, and if you weren't inspired before, that montage might have done it, our friends over at My Patriot Supply. Right now, you can save $150 off their 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. They are America's largest preparedness company, and they will give you peace of mind to know that you are prepared when it's not just baby food that you can't get on the shelves, but the food that the big people eat too. All right. So don't wait for the painful food shortages to come to your home. Get prepared now. Food stays good for up to 25 years with proper storage. You get $150 off a 3-month kit plus free shipping. It's 2,000 calories a day. That's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and drinks for you and everybody in your care. When you go to preparewithdeace.com, DEACE, preparewithdeace.com. Coming up in today's overtime, which we will tape right after today's live show for Blaze TV subscribers, and then it will be uploaded later today at blazetv.com/Deace. Monmouth has just released its latest midterm election polling and is now recording the largest net difference in right track and wrong track in the history of the Monmouth poll. Just 18% of Americans saying the country is on the right track. 79% of Americans saying the country is on the wrong track. That's the largest, I should say, difference in the history of the Monmouth poll. We will discuss that and then try to figure out if those 18% are just communists. And now we know what the true percentage is, right? We'll get to that later today at blazetv.com/Deace, which is also where you can go to become a Blaze TV subscriber, get all of our exclusive content at a discount. It's just $10 a month when you head over to blazetv.com/Deace. We're going to talk more with Kathy Barnette at the bottom of the hour, so we will table that for now. A couple of things I want to address. If indeed the Left Behind, Thief in the Night movies from the 70s, mainstream now evangelical eschatological position, otherwise known as premillennial dispensationalism for the Theo nerds, okay? If indeed that turns out to be the most accurate eschatology, here's what I'm confident of. Klaus Schwab ain't the one. That's not the one. That guy gives everybody the creeps. I mean, how many bad movies did that guy do the voiceover work for the villain for? Okay? You know what I'm saying? And the name Klaus Schwab. What? Lex Luthor wasn't available? I mean, come on.
And the German accent.
Yes, indeed. No, it won't be him. He's the groomer. He's here to tenderize the meat. He's your demonic John the Baptist, if you will. He's the forerunner. He's here to announce, make crooked the path for the one who is to come, the son of lawlessness that is on his way. the one for whom the world has been waiting. That one, if indeed that view is correct, that guy is going to obviously be cast in a messianic savior role. Not the last 3 Terminator movies they should have made. It won't be that guy. That guy's the Weimar Republic of eschatology. Okay? Not happening. That's like, you know, Satan the musical, okay, with jazz hands. No, we're not doing that. That's not how it works. That's not going to create mass deception of people. Even the guy sitting next to him on the stage was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I could imagine that, I guess. I mean, I think I'm supposed to say that because y'all are paying me a poop ton of money to sit here, right? Okay, but sounds pretty damn freaky to me. That was kind of the vibe I got from that dude. It won't be that guy. It'll be the guy who's here to save you from that guy. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
It's funny, I was thinking about the same thing because we talked about this off the air. I don't know, in the context of maybe it was Zelensky. I was thinking about it this morning, and it's funny the juxtaposition of the Monmouth poll with this story, how many people are just communists. Because I watched that video and I was thinking about the conversation we had off the air at one point, and I actually had the exact opposite reaction. How many of our neighbors in our own neighborhoods would be just fine with taking the Klaus Schwab chip implant in the brain if it meant being in the good graces of polite society? I don't want to know the answer to that question, but then again, it may just be 1 out of every 5, but that's still far too many. The thesis, though, overall is, yeah, this is just too close to central casting.
It's too on the nose, man.
But at the same time, I don't know how many people would, and I don't really want to know how many of my neighbors would just, fine, give me the chip. I just want to, you know, have my nice McMansion here in suburbia and enjoy my Pleasant Valley Sundays.
Well, that 2 things can be true at once. And yes, it can be true at the same time that too many people are so far gone that they would literally take a brain implant from Klaus Schwab. Just saying it out loud, okay, it makes me giggle. I do agree with that. But I really, in the grand scheme of things, to paraphrase the great prophet Ice Cube, he ain't the one. He ain't the one. It's going to be a lot slicker than that.
I buy that, but this speaks to your conversation with Naomi Wolf a couple days ago about how the flip is script in some respects, because the moneyed interests of the world would have never let this guy saying these things out loud stand in the past. The elite's reputation was like, we're grown-ups, we're serious people. Mm-hmm. Now the opposite is true amongst the elite moneyed interests of the world.
Yeah.
They are here for that. They're not embarrassed by that at all.
Yeah.
That's what I find deeply troubling about this.
I didn't say it wasn't chilling and troubling.
No, I know.
I mean, because what he's talking end of Western civilization kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that would actually make you hope the premillennial dispensational view is true. Because if it's not, we're talking new dark ages. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. You're talking a new dark ages. That's what we're talking about. I mean, you better hope that we're actually cascading to some cosmic ending of history as we've known it. Because if those people get their way and that's not what's occurring, if it's not to that nth degree of cosmology we're dealing with here from an eschatology standpoint, we're just dealing with history. Well, you're gonna live through the next dark ages round 2. That's what we're talking about, and that's a whole different story than look up for your salvation is nigh. That one doesn't have a happy ending. Just a long, arduous series of sad ones is what that has. Elsewhere, Democrats knew they didn't have the votes for their baby killing bill, and that's why they had that vote. They knew they didn't have the votes. That's why they did it. This This was their, we're going to ban Obamacare vote. This was just a show vote to their crazy base. The problem they're having is, and that's maybe where we get into providential timing of things. If the court, because all these same justices were on the court a year ago when they took the Mississippi case, right? If they would have ruled faster to overturn Roe, when we were not in an economic cataclysm, and a lot of the same suburban moms that needed to rid the world of mean tweets that are now freaked out that they can't get formula for their kids. And by the way, raise your hand if you're shocked to find out the same people that have no problem with killing your babies can't be moved now by the lack of food for them. Raise your hand. Karen, you don't count. Anybody not named Karen in a cul-de-sac driving a Subaru? Anybody else shocked? Okay, and if you have a coexist bumper sticker on that Subaru, you're automatically disqualified. You're too far gone. Anybody else shocked that they can't be bothered about, feeding the babies that they have no problem murdering before you actually give birth to them? But think about if the timetable on all of this with Roe was just moved back another 12 months. And where we were a year ago at this time. We're walking into Costco's and Walmart's without masks for the first time, right? Movie theaters, we're going to the movies, a lot of people are around the country for the first time in a long time. People are taking vacations. There was a sense in the early days in the spring, in the early days of the vax rollout at this time a year ago, that we were kind of coming to the end of this. This is before the jab mandates showed up, which not coincidentally coincided with when we found out the jabs don't work. Funny how that works. When it was becoming increasingly obvious they didn't work, or poisoned you, or both, that's when the mandates, obviously the tyranny began to kick into high gear. But there was kind of a sense that, there was a little fire up the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun, about this time last year, right? Mm-hmm. If we were having this exact same conversation about Roe at this time last year, might the political scales of this be a little bit different?
Absolutely.
I think they absolutely would be. They absolutely would be. So this is some providential timing here, in my view. This is the perfect time to overturn Roe. Think about it. They can't generate juice with their base on an abortion vote. Their numbers have gone down since the Roe leak. They're just besieged by cataclysmic events that are happening. And obviously nothing's more cataclysmic than state-sanctioned murder. Okay. But that is something that you can opt out of. You don't have to kill your kid, right? Can you opt out of 8.5% inflation? Can you opt out of that? Can you just say, you know what? We decided we're pro-choice here in our home, and we're just going to choose not to have the 8.5% inflation. Can you do that? Can you opt out?
I'm told if you just go have a margarita and go do some yoga, things will even out.
Or identify as Ukrainian,
Sure.
perhaps. Yeah, but in reality, does that work?
No.
Can you opt out of that? No, you can't. Can you opt out of $5 a gallon of gasoline? Can you say, everybody gets their own choice with that. Our house, we're just going to choose not to pay $5 in gasoline.
I filled up my tank yesterday. Opting out was not an option.
And they didn't give you you didn't tell them you were pro-choice on the price?
No.
All right. So the problem is the thing that they really want to fight on is something that ultimately, if you're for it, you still have a choice of whether to do it or not. In most cases, there have been tragedies sometimes where parents drag underage daughters to abortion clinics almost against their will. But in general, you have a choice whether to participate in the macabre. You don't have a choice with this. I can't choose to not suffer under this non-transitory inflation. I can't do that. And think about where they are. If you're looking for, how do I know these polling numbers are right? Because I don't want to believe, right? And you're smart if you're like this. I don't want to believe they're right because they're saying what I want them to say. I don't want to be a hack, right? I don't want to be the person that said when they told me Trump was going to lose in 2020 by 10 points, oh, it's fake news. Well, now they're telling me that the guys I want to win this year are going to win by 10 points, and now I'm going to embrace them because it tells me what I want to say. We don't want to encourage that level of duplicity on this program, right? That kind of non-critical thinking we're not about. If you want some experiential, observational confirmation of these numbers, consider the fact that they, on the other side, cannot break through the narrative with the abortion issue. Even with their own suburban women base, they're crushing them too much every time they go to a gas station to fill up their minivans, every time they go to Costco or Walmart or the local grocery store or Kroger, every time they go to get food for their babies or their grandbabies, because they're hearing them maybe from their daughters. They can't break through with their narrative. And what's going to happen here is by the end of June, the court's going to give out this ruling, likely overturning Roe, and we'll be sitting here in September and October, and we're like, dude, you remember when they overturned Roe? You know what I'm saying? Because we're still going to be figuring out, when does the transitory inflation kick in? When's that transitory stage kick in? We kind of like the it could be just, it's temporary, it's transitory, it's going to go away. That tells you how screwed and perhaps irrevocably they are. They were handed a wedge issue. The analysis that Paul Alexander, former Tulsi Gabbard strategist, gave on our show a few weeks ago, when he said, hey, if the court overturns Roe, this might happen, that analysis should be true. It should be, but it won't be. And here's why. Because everybody kind of forgot that at the end of the last presidential debate in 2020, Joe Biden openly said that he was going to get rid of the oil industry. Openly said it. Just said it out loud. Trump was like incredulous, couldn't believe it. Neither could I at the time. And they have set about systematically to follow up on that. Energy is the biggest industry in the country. If we're screwed there, we're screwed economically. There's never been a recession that wasn't accompanied by an escalation in energy prices in modern American history going back to every decade post-World War II. So this is a managed decay. When they announced yesterday they're going to stop pumping oil from Mexico and Alaska, this is on purpose. This is what they told us they were going to do in 2020 in the campaign. They were honest about this. And now we're all going to suffer the consequences of it. And more. And so because of that, because when you become a cult, the natural laws of things you think no longer apply to you. So you don't deflect anymore. You don't triangulate anymore. You don't walk things back anymore. You just cult on. Cult on, man. That's all we do. We just cult because we're a cult. That's what we do. We just cult on. Right? We demand indefinite detention of January 6th, quote unquote, rioters. And then from the same White House spokeswoman who goes on a TikTok and says that Trump stole the 2016 election with the help of Vladimir Putin. We just cult on. That's all we do. We cult on. And they're going to cult on. And they're not going to now acknowledge any of these political realities at all, which is why we're going to sit here like Labor Day and we're going to be like, dude, remember when they overturned Roe and then when we just went back to our lives after 50 years fighting to death about that? Because we're now paying $8 a gallon in gasoline. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, I don't think you're wrong. I'm only wondering what I mean. When I said a couple days ago, we are now post-argument, well, an election is a kind of argument. And while they may get destroyed here in November, what does it mean for what happens after that? Because the cult, as you said, must be dealt with, and it's not going away.
It depends. Did you guys elect a bunch of DeSantis types or a bunch of typical Republicans? That'll answer that question.
Should.
Kathy Barnette wants to make the argument she's a DeSantis type. Let's find out when we come back. We were just talking about the Monmouth poll. We're going to get more into that during the overtime after the show today. The largest chasm between right track and wrong track in the history of the Monmouth poll was just released within the hour. And that's just another reminder that getting the country back on the right track has a lot to do with what goes on in the marketplace, because a lot of the isms and ideologies that most threaten our way of life, unfortunately, are subsidized and funded by too much of corporate America. So if you're looking for where you can go to find businesses that have the values that you do, that want to conserve them and pass them on to future generations, you're looking to download this app today, Public SQ for Public Square. Public SQ is where you want to go to find local businesses. If you're traveling, I'll be traveling this weekend, doing some speaking in North Carolina. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on. But if you're traveling or where you live, right now, you can get that app in the Apple Store or the Google Store as well if you have an Android phone. Create a free account, begin your search. You can also list your business there for free as well. All right, so you can download the app today. Public SQ for Public Square. Public SQ is what you're looking for in the App Store today. Well, if you are looking for where the entire attention of the political system is focused at the moment, at least domestically, if it was, globally, it'd be Ukraine. But domestically, it is on this Pennsylvania Senate primary, and the guest we have with us right now is primarily the reason why. She is one of the candidates running in the Republican Senate primary there. Kathy Barnette joins us here on the Steve Deace Show. It is an honor, Kathy, to have you with us. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. Doing well. These are some of the best days. I am so encouraged by just the support, from what you were alluding about how much attention has suddenly came on my specific campaign. They've been talking about the Pennsylvania primary for some time, but they were only interested in the two rich guys in this race. And now all of a sudden, as of yesterday, everyone is interested in talking to us, which I'm very happy, very grateful for. But there's been a lot of lies and untruths that have been told as well, because the right is unnerved.
So let's discuss that in a moment. But I want to start with the moment that kind of galvanized this. My experience being involved and covering politics is when one moment, particularly this late in the race, seizes and captures as much attention as your moment in the last debate, confronting Dr. Oz on his past support of baby killing, and your very inspiring story, which we shared that testimony with our audience last week, so they're well versed in it. When that kind of a moment changes the trajectory of everything as fast as that moment has, that tells me two things, and I want to give you a chance to agree or disagree. Number one, that a lot of voters were not happy with the top candidates that they were being fed by the system. They were not inspired, and they were kind of just sitting around on the sidelines looking for someone to give them a reason to vote for them, and you gave it to them. And then number two, a lot of those people didn't know who and the Sam Hill you were until that night, because name ID is the number one factor in who wins these things, and you've been outspent on TV about 358-1. You agree or disagree with that?
Well, let me say, we've been in a statistical tie for first place for well over 4 weeks. I think it was about 4 weeks ago when President Trump endorsed Mehmet Oz, and I think that was on a Saturday at 8 p.m. And on Sunday morning when I woke up, I saw a significant shift, because a high name ID works both ways, and Mehmet's name ID is so high that we all know he's not a conservative. And I believe a lot of people, when they weren't taking him seriously, and then when he received the endorsement, they're like, wait a minute, we know enough to know we don't want him as our senator. So at that point, I began to see my numbers rise. I went all the way up out of single digits and became in a statistical three-way tie with these other two men who had, as you said, already outspent me. So it started about 4 weeks ago. And then we fast forward to just last week, I believe it was, when I was on the debate stage. And now that's coming right off of I don't know if it was just a leak or a tactical operation with the SCOTUS papers, but now it gave me an opportunity to have what I believe is one of the most important conversations in this nation, and that is the conversation around life and some of the most vulnerable lives, those who are still in their mother's womb. And I took that opportunity to share my story, believing if my story had a chance to save one life, why would I not take that opportunity? And I know that is in contrast to what Oz has said, or the position he held before it became convenient for him to run for this race.
So you and I have something in common with personal pro-life testimonies in our own story. I'm a kid born to a 15-year-old mom who found out she was pregnant at the dawn of Roe v. Wade and seriously considered having an abortion and didn't go through with it. Now, 48 years later, she'd say I'm the best mistake she ever made. Okay, so our audience is well-versed in that, and it certainly resonated with them. Yeah. So I want us to expand the conversation to what's transpired so far this week, where the Oz campaign, particularly Rick Grinnell, former Trump administration official, clearly have put you in their crosshairs, and all guns are blazing right now. So I want to give you a chance to address one of these things. Sean Hannity was, you were all over his program last night as well, but not as a guest, as a target. Okay, let's start with the most trite of things. Okay, the whole thing about your military service. What can you clarify for us on that front?
Yeah, there's nothing to clarify. Like I said, I've been running for 13 months, and yesterday people suddenly became interested in us. I was on Sean Hannity's show roughly about 7 times prior to Oz jumping into the race, and during those 7 times, he never asked me about it. So he had ample opportunity to vet and to ask questions that he wasn't interested in until now. I was on a number of other shows as well. And then when these 2 men came in, Oz and McCormick, the media just did a wall around my campaign and wanted nothing to do with me until yesterday. Yesterday, I was up north in Pennsylvania, didn't have bad service. If anyone knows where Elk County is and this kind of service you get up there. This particular reporter from the Washington Examiner called my campaign manager asking for a deluge of information that he didn't have at the moment and couldn't get in touch with me because of bad service. And she immediately left that conversation and wrote this article as if we were not being open and candid. It was it's a disingenuous hit piece is what it is. And that's all the rest of the media who just, it's all kind of this incestuous pool. And they just took it and started running with it. And then when I finally made it home yesterday evening, I took a photo of my documents and put it out there. So there is nothing to see there. This is just, I think most people are surprised that the swamp does not just consist of Democrats. Mm-hmm. We have a number of them on our side. My husband and I have created a wonderful life. I clawed my way out of dire poverty. I grew up on a pig farm in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back, and a well on the side. But from there, I have been able to create a life for myself. And now those on the right who decry cancel culture are doing it themselves. Those on the right who talk about fake news and fake media are now doing it themselves. And these videos they put out there to try to destroy me, and I'm not having any of it, is, taking long form conversations that I've had because I read and I think and I wanted to discuss these issues, and they edit them down with just snippets of words. And then they say, oh, this is who she is. It's a lie and it's fake news.
So let's get into the video that was trending yesterday regarding BLM, Black Lives Matter. My producer, Aaron, he edits and splices video for a living for me. So he knows a hatchet job when he sees one. He told me before the show, when he looked at what they put together with you from the long form video you're referring to, that he thought it was one of the most obvious cases of trying to character assassinate somebody, taking them out of context he's ever seen from an editing perspective. What are your views on BLM? And what were the views you were articulating at that time in that video?
Yeah, my views have never changed. I have never changed on any of these things that they're talking to us about from the inception of Black Lives Matter, which I believe it was under Barack Obama administration, whom I have never voted. I did not vote for him in either terms. Either terms. At that particular moment, I looked at my Black husband and said, the only thing Black Lives Matter is going to do is get my Black husband and my Black son shot. Now, fast forward to the summer of 2020, what are we watching? We're watching Black Lives Matter and Antifa just an extension of the Democrat Party going out here, pulling people out of their businesses, beating up people, shooting people, complete foolishness. So there were a number of videos that were just a bad job of what they were doing. One simply had me hashtagging Black Lives Matter. And then the ones who are supposed to be in our party, the Republicans, using this as a weapon, said, see, that's proof that she supports Black Lives Matter. No, what it's proof of is that I'm pretty bad, you know what, because I did a video decrying the tactics of Black Lives Matter, and then I hashtagged them so that it could go straight to them. And the central message of that was, Black people, wake up and stop allowing yourself to be used by Black Lives Matter and the Democrat Party, who does not care about you. Black Lives Matter Incorporated does not care about Black lives. They use the color of my skin and the history of this nation to try to dismantle our nation. Whether we're talking about Black Lives Matter or critical race theory, they're both a tool of Marxism, which is here to destroy our country, not to build it up. I have been absolutely consistent on that part. There's nowhere where I say anything different, whether it's talking about our police officers. I am a strong advocate for our police officers. I'm a strong advocate for respecting the U.S. flag. And now all of a sudden, because they're losing and we're winning, and the people in Pennsylvania are going to have a seat at the table. They're going to have someone there who's substantive, intelligent, and know how to pivot on various issues to make sure our points and our values are being displayed. They're going to actually have a seat at the table, and these people are very unnerved by it.
That was my final question. Why these kinds of tactics? What do you think your campaign represents that even elements within Trump's political operation, like Hannity, Grinnell, would engage in this level of scorched earth, and kind of a JV version of scorched earth? I mean, we're talking about some pretty trivial things in the grand scheme of things, but why you and your campaign, other than just winning, right? What is it you think you represent?
Oh my goodness. I mean, represent our voices. You know, these last 2 years have just been horrible for a lot of people. It felt like literal hell, jumping up and pouncing on us, with people putting their foot on our businesses, on our lives, on our school. I mean, it's very unnerving. We've spent over 1,500 miles every single week. We started off 13 months ago doing 900 miles, bumped it up to 1,000. And these last several months, we've been doing 1,500 miles a week, sitting down, talking to the people, and they have had an opportunity to vet me and to see. We've learned some things out of these past 2 years. And one of the things we've learned is what kind of leadership we need in this country. Because I'm just talking about our side of the aisle. How many people on our side of the aisle use their platform, their influence, to push back on these rogue totalitarian Democrats? Not many. It was some, but not enough, right? And so people remember that when I needed help, where were our leaders? And so they're taking that into this particular election. And what Mehmet Oz and Dave McCormick offered the people were just glossy TV ads and big name endorsements from people who don't even live in our Commonwealth. And so people rejected that as plastic politicians, and they're going with something authentic. The other thing that they're unnerved about is that the power is coming out of their hands, and the people are recognizing their own power and about to put the power back in their hands. And so they're unnerved about this. I've been saying for some time now, one of the lessons I've learned over these past several years is that this is not really a battle between Democrats and Republicans. It is really a battle between those who are in control, or so they believe, and those who have no control. Though the haves versus the have-nots. And right now, it's kind of what we saw in 2016. The establishment on both sides could not stomach the possibility that the people were going to pick their leader for president. And they were completely unnerved about it then. They're completely unnerved about it now.
Kathy, how can people get more information on your campaign if they want to do that?
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me on your show. And your audience, they can go to barnetteforsenate.com. You will see one of the things we put up there is my on day one agenda. On day one, I listed the 10 things I will focus on. Number 6 is ethics and transparency. My husband and I have committed to not hold or trade in individual stocks. That's huge. If you're looking at these people and where their motivation lies is completely self-motivated. We will only invest in what the majority of Americans invest in, and that's mutual funds. Why? Because I want to keep my soul. I'm doing 2 terms, coming back home, and I want to keep my soul at the end of the day. But we need that kind of leadership, I believe.
Kathy, thanks for coming on here. I know you're busy. It's the last few days of the campaign, but we appreciate you joining us and answering the questions that came up yesterday. All right, take care.
Thank you, Steve.
You bet. All right, gentlemen, what do you think?
Well, she deserves to be vetted just like everybody else.
Sure.
And there's no way that any of us at this point in time, I'll just speak for myself. I would have to do more vetting if I was a Pennsylvanian to look into things. But what is abundantly clear is that if she's got any talking points that she's going by, they're just her own. I don't sense a shell of a normal political animal, of standard Republican talking points. She showed a lot of contempt for that system right there too. So I don't know. Like, is this "Meet the New Boss" same as the old boss? One of your favorite songs of all time? Is this what Grinnell and Trump are now doing?
Yeah.
If that's true, it just goes to show how whatever the system is, it deserves to be blown up, no matter who's blowing it up.
Regardless, the scorched earth, as you put it, tactics, I think from some of the individuals, it shows you that she's over the target, whatever she's doing right now, against 2 dudes who are just essentially trying to buy their way in to a U.S. Senate seat.
Yep.
That video that you mentioned earlier, Steve, when I watched that yesterday afternoon, I started laughing because it's just such a patently obvious hit job, hatchet job.
And Grinnell was pimping that,
target.
man.
Yep.
Going after our Ali Stuckey over it and everybody else too, man. He was tripling, quadrupling down on that video edit. We'll come back with hour 2 in a moment. Back with our second hour here on the Steve Deace Show. Live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Steve Deace here with Todd Erzin and Aaron McIntyre and all of you. Don't forget, you can email us, steve@stevedeace.com. Check us out on Facebook, MeWe, Parler, and Gab. Follow me at Steve Deace Show on Twitter and Getter. Look for me at Real Steve Deace on Trump's Truth Social. And get clips of the show that you can watch as well at rumble.com/Steve Deace Show. Those of you that listen to the podcast, please, if you've yet to do this, leave us a 5-star review if you dig it. And then also hit the subscribe or follow button, whichever applies on whichever podcast platform you prefer. And thanks to each and every one of you that have done one of those things for us, or both of them already. We appreciate each and every one of you. Getting into the real estate market during any economic environment can be a challenge. How about this one right now, where all of the economic indicators look like the summer of 2008, and we know what happened to the housing market right after that in the fall of 2008, right?
Bing.
And yeah, that's, yes, that is what happened. So make sure if you're going in, God bless you first and foremost, okay? Hey, Aaron just did it though. He navigated it, but how did he do it? I sent him over my own personal experience with a real estate agent I could trust, right?
One of the few people that my 8-month-old has not gone stranger danger with. Actually smiled at Scott the first time we met.
Nice. He did a great job, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for an agent that years from now, you're going to be recommending to the people that you care about, okay? And so where would you find this agent? The name kind of says it all. Head over to realestateagentsitrust.com. Just about anywhere you want to move to or from in the country, we can help you find one of these at realestateagentsitrust.com. I want to do a couple of follow-ups here on the Kathy Barnette interview we just did. Number one, over the course of my career, over the course of my career going back to local radio, I have exposed a lot of frauds. A lot. I mean, you guys used to listen to me do this.
Yeah, just by asking, what is a football?
Yeah, just asking questions.
Ice cream, chocolate, strawberry.
Yeah. One of my favorite questions used to be, hey, how many babies can a Republican kill and still be pro-life? I used to love to ask that question. It would just set them off, or they'd lose their poop over stuff like that. All right, so I've had a lot of exposure to frauds in this business. I've had a lot of experience exposing them. Now, what you said a few minutes ago, Todd, is 100% accurate. She should be vetted like every other candidate. Okay? But if she's fronting, man, if this is some kind of scam, if she's not sincere, doesn't mean, I'm not even saying she's the best candidate. But that's not the conversation that's taking place right now, is it?
No.
The conversation is, now at the last minute, now that she's leading in the polls or could be leading in the polls, now all of a sudden we just, here's a completely insincere individual. First and foremost, if you're Kathy Barnette, I didn't say this to her because I didn't want to get her in trouble any more than she's already in. If you want to be attacked by anybody, it's the Washington Examiner, because absolutely no one whose vote you have even a modicum of chance of getting in a Republican primary reads that. You know what I'm saying? That's if a tree falls in the forest kind of stuff. No one. There's like the composite. I can't give you a composite sketch of, I read the Washington Examiner and take every word seriously, and then I'm going to go vote for Kathy Barnette in the primary. I literally don't believe that person exists. Okay? So if you're getting attacked on the right, and you're her. Now, hey, if I'm Mehmet Oz, I don't want to get attacked by the Washington Examiner because those are my people. That's my base, right? Okay, but if I'm Kathy Barnette, there's literally no one who's a devotee of the Washington Examiner that I had a chance to get a vote from. So that doesn't really hurt me whatsoever. But she's really being attacked on the basis of her character as what she's portrayed to the public. Not so much her qualifications for the office or where she's at on the issues, but is she even just a sincere individual? That's what the last 24 hours is about, right? If she's a fraud, I'll just tell you this right now. I'm not even saying she's not, but I am saying if she is, she's the best damn one I've ever seen. Because that came across as very sincere and unrehearsed to me. And the point she made about, you want to know who's a fraud? Ask Sean Hannity. Because he's one. The point that she made about how many times she was on his show, which I didn't know because I wouldn't watch, because I have a life and a soul. So what'd she say? She was on there 7 times before old Mehmet got in the race. Mm-hmm. Okay. And he never bothered to ask her about, hey, can you clarify all these things about military service and all these things that are now he's suddenly doing listicles about on his program? The dude's just a hack. And he has been all along. In the span of his career, the dude has endorsed Mitt Romney, John McCain, and Donald Trump in primaries. Who does that? Someone who's mentally unstable or just has one hell of a grift going on. He had ample opportunity to bring her, when he had her on, to question all of these things in the past, and he didn't do it. So why is he doing it now? Because his boy may get his ass kicked. That's why. So again, there might be other candidates that you think are more principled. I don't know. I'd never heard the name Kathy Barnette till about 10 days ago. Okay. So I'm just telling you, though, from a sincerity standpoint, if she's scamming all of you, if this whole thing is some kind of elaborate ruse and house of cards, her entire biography and everything else, if she's Cherry Girl from I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, this is Oscar-worthy, Meryl Streep is standing and applauding level of performance. Because I know what insincere people look like when you start asking them questions to clarify them, and that's not what they look like. Again, you're in Pennsylvania, you know the candidate's better than me. You decide for yourself who you think is the best one in the race. But I will say this out loud. I have interviewed a lot of frauds. I have exposed quite a few. If she's one, she's the best I've ever seen. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, she seemed to be honored that the system of her own party was coming at her. That was kind of my shibboleth right there. Yeah. Like how she reacted to that. Because
it was not defensive. There was a lot of meekness there, frankly, the power under control thing. Yeah.
You know, if she was really just a system hack, then she'd be desperately trying to recover the grace of the system. She's like, I don't care. I'm about the people. And so I'm like I said, I found her charming, and I'd absolutely be looking into her more if I lived there. Not out of suspicion, because I wanted to be inspired. I'd want to find out more. I
want to say this too, and I won't ask you guys to comment because this is a little sensitive. You can. I'll give you the option. But if you say no, I won't hold it against you.
No,
okay?
I definitely am going to comment.
That's my man.
There.
Yes. I'm not into playing the race card. I hate it. I used to use an expression on my show all the time, dealing the race card from the bottom of the deck. I hate the racialist stuff. I can't stand it. And as a kid born to a 15-year-old mom on food stamps and government cheese with an abusive stepdad, save me your sob story that you can't get ahead, man. Nobody gave me, when did I get my white privilege? When I was 2 or 3 years old and we were on food stamps. When was it, do you think?
Didn't the belt buckle you get hit with actually say
It said white privilege on it, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right, so I have no tolerance for the playing of the race card, the racialist agenda, none of it. But we also cannot pretend as if race is an irrelevant factor in America. We have to live in the world as it is, not as we want it to be at the same time. So I'm fine crushing and destroying those shibboleths. But we also cannot be ignorant of the fact that a black woman U.S. senator in the Republican Party is a rare breed. Fair?
Fair.
For the party that freed the slaves like 170 years ago, we're still sitting here in 2022, and one of these things does not look like the other, okay? You have a rare opportunity right now as a political party to make inroads with non-whites, which you're doing, by the way, because of the amount of failures and fallacies that are being exposed on the other side. Now, I'm not saying you should be out there endorsing her because she's black. I wouldn't argue that at all. If anything, that's probably why Hannity put her on his show, because that's what a hack grifter does. He put her on because, hey, let's put the black woman on I didn't even vet, just to show everybody we're not racist. Oh, snap, she might actually win. Well, she lied about this. You see what I'm... See, that's a hack act. That's a hack act is what that is. So I'm not saying, hey, give it to her because it would meet a racial quota. I hate racial quotas. What I am saying, though, is it a good look for your party right now to be openly and sloppily and probably slanderously trying to destroy? We're not talking about issues. We're talking about her as a person, how she is representing herself. That's a terrible play. An absolutely terrible play. That plays right into your opponents. Right into them. And for what? Mehmet Oz? For Mehmet Oz? We're going to play, hey, dunk on the black chick in public with everybody watching for Mehmet Oz. Transhumanist? The guy doing shows about gender reassignment surgeries before I even knew what it was. Dude, that's pearls before swine territory is what that is. I mean, I want to win like anybody else does. I'm as competitive. These guys will tell you, I'm as competitive as anybody you'll ever meet. But not at the expense of cutting off my nose in spite of my face, man. Read a room. In this environment, by all means, man, do everything you can to win, but you want to smear the character of a black woman in this environment in the Republican Party on behalf of Mehmet Oz. What's pragmatic about that? That to me just seems like that juice ain't worth the squeeze, brah. By any reasonable stretch of the imagination, that juice is not worth the squeeze. And that just goes to show you people aren't thinking clearly. They're not making political calculations. This is personal. This is business. How dare you get in the way? We have a master plan. We are the gatekeepers. Didn't you all vote and go to Trump? At least that's when I heard when I was on the Cruz campaign. Well, Cruz is a conservative, but he's part of the system. Okay, yeah. So we got to go outside the system and get rid of the gatekeepers. That's why y'all weren't impressed when we lined up all these conservative leader endorsements for Trump, or for Cruz, I should say. Well, they're all gatekeepers. We want to smash the gatekeepers. I'm like, yeah, I guess I don't really mind smashing gatekeepers myself, right? I don't know, Rick Grinnell looks an awful lot like a gatekeeper to me. Sean Hannity looks an awful lot like a gatekeeper to me. If it looks like a gatekeeper and it smells like a gatekeeper, brah, it's a gate friggin' keeper, okay? How dare this uppity black woman get in the way of our master plan here? It's a terrible look, actually. Terrible. And at a time when you have a real opportunity to make inroads. A real opportunity here. I got an email from a guy just yesterday who was talking to a black cabbie. He's never voted Republican in his entire life. He said if Trump runs again, he might even be a racist. I'm voting for him because I know this. I don't care what he thinks about me. I can't afford this. I can't stay in business. I can't feed my family like this. And now's the moment with everybody watching, the world watching, you guys want to try and scorch earth, and with a lot of stuff that just looks frankly like weak sauce, a black woman in broad daylight? Really? And it's for Mehmet Oz? Mr. Michelle Obama on my show? Mr. Congratulations to the Clintons on your family. Mr. Transhumanist.
Who just renounced his Turkish citizenship like 2 days ago.
Yes, Mr. We need to make guns a public health emergency. That was just 2018. That's the one? See, it ain't about Mehmet Oz. It's what she said. It's about power and control. We don't want to give it up. We'll tell you who's MAGA and who's not. We'll tell you who you get to vote for and who you don't. We got this. And the parting on the left is now the parting on the right, and the beards have all grown longer overnight. If you think standing up on a stage the day his damn jab got dethroned for being poisonous and introducing Woody Johnson to a crowd because, quote, he's got a ton of cash. If you think that's an outlier event, it's not. It's perfectly in line and symmetrical with what's going on in that primary right now. See, the dude took power because he represented you. He's trying to come back to power because he thinks you represent him. It's about him and not you. And there's a large crowd of you right now that'll be very pissed at me for telling you this. But over the course of the next 3, 6, 9 months, as this becomes increasingly obvious, I'll get more of these emails. I hated you when you first said it, but now I have to admit it's true. This isn't an outlier. And it's a terrible look, and it's terrible politics. It's terrible. There's nothing to be gained from this. Nothing. There is no gain. All the gain would actually be dumping Mehmet Oz overboard and endorsing her. And I'm not saying she deserves it. I'm just talking pure political analysis. That's the only gain, unless it's not about winning. It's about us winning. It's about the people that will march to our drum and win. And Mehmet Oz is just fine just being our next Elise Stefanik. From voting for legislation for trannies to yesterday, she said, I'm ultra MAGA, whatever the hell that even means. Now, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the nature of her threat, you nailed it. She's an existential threat to power and control. And that is why they're using the whole hashtag BLM thing against her, against a black woman. Because they need to make, she said, of course I use the hashtag. I am a black life. I do matter. And my pro-life testimony points to that. And I'm going into that room because I want to be part of the conversation with real people. That's what this is about. It's about the real people, the lives that I know and understand. So my hashtag was not just some thin gruel piece of substance, cat poster nonsense that most of you on the right and left normally do. I went into the room. I went into the dark alley. I want to be a part. Oh, no, you're not allowed to do that, especially if you are somebody who looks like the kind of person that has been used to be the shirts and the skins thing that we've been doing for too long. Reject all of that. Honestly, Pennsylvanians, again, don't trust us. Go look into this for yourself. But if nothing else, you've learned right now that she's far more worth a look than any look you've given to Oz so far.
No, I'm glad you went there, because at the end of the conversation, I'd already had this inkling. It was pretty obvious, actually, with Rick Grinnell and Hannity doing their shtick yesterday and leading, quite frankly, a lot of people astray. The number of individuals who have tweeted that tweet with the hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag defund the police. Guys, how many times on this show have we used hashtags ironically or to get attention
to invade their space?
Invade their space.
Right.
That's what she was doing. And yet the number of people who I've had, did you guys see this? No. You're the low information voter that actually Rush Limbaugh talked about for many years. So do your own, as Todd was saying. Even after watching this interview, do some more vetting on your own if you live in Pennsylvania. Don't just take our word for it. But the inkling that I got, especially towards the end of that 20-minute interview with Kathy Barnette, when she didn't melt into a pile of goo after being asked pointed questions about some of the concerns that have been brought up, is that it's an absolutely terrible look. A terrible look. Now, I don't know how much of this is coming from the McCormick camp. Isn't Jeff Rowe running his campaign? That's Ted Cruz's form. Yeah. He's a ruthless. You want him on your team.
Yeah, God bless him. I know this for a fact. Yes, he is.
You want Jeff Rowe on your team. But he is a ruthless political strategist and animal, really. I don't know how much of this is coming from his camp. I don't know. A lot of this, publicly at least, is coming from the Trump camp. It's a bad look when two really rich dudes are going scorched earth against the character of an amazing story. Whatever you say about her policies or the way that she articulates it, what have you, her story, her testimony is incredible. It's really bad luck when you're going after her scorched earth and on her character. That's a terrible look. And I'm glad you went there because why are they risking this terrible look, or why are they not aware that it is a terrible look? Because it's not really about you. It's about, I'm the kingmaker.
Yes.
I'm the kingmaker.
Yes.
You will come kiss the ring. And she does not. And she did not.
So I think I have a responsibility here, if I'm going to open this door, to close the loop on something. Okay. And I will do that here in a moment, right after I tell you about our friends over at Omega XL, because I might be a pain in the butt for some of you right now with what I said here in the last few minutes. For the rest of you, it might just be that good old-fashioned inflammation, because it likes to creep into those things we have called joints as we get older, and those things are vitally important for us to establish and then maintain flexibility and activity, and then as we get older, though they can become little hubs for inflammation, which makes that activity tougher. That's where that lingering soreness and that achiness that just won't go away likely stems from too much inflammation in your joints. That's why you're looking for an all-natural anti-inflammatory like the one from our friends at Omega XL, backed by going on 3 decades now of clinical research and the last 3 years of me using it daily. You can try it today. Buy one, get one free. I would personally recommend it when you go to omegaxl.com/Steve. That's omegaxl.com/Steve, or you can give them a call at 800-844-4888. That's 800-844-4888. Back to your Roe point. I know you meant it as a compliment. I can testify to that firsthand. I worked with and for him for several months, so I get that. If I know Jeff, he's probably elated to see this, because he's like, man, I'm just going to put my candidate on Mark Levin. I'll put my candidate out on.
He ran Cruz's campaign.
Yes, and just rise above and set aside from all this and let Oz and Barnette basically just throat punch each other repeatedly and try to squeak this thing out. If that's what I'd be doing anyway, if I was running the McCormick campaign, I'd be like, you guys should fight. I'll be over here trying to talk to as many voters and people as I possibly can. And again, I don't know anything on the issues about any of these candidates other than Oz. I've fully vetted him. The other ones, though, I don't know anything about. Okay. So you do your homework. It's not my primary. It's not me to tell you who to vote for. But if I'm going to point out what a terrible look this is, then I think I should also, I also have an obligation to say that there's a way they could have done this without doing it this way. But they couldn't do it the way I'm about to suggest, and I'll tell you why that's true too, why they had to do it this way in the Oz campaign. See, it's very, you didn't have to do this. You don't want, rule number 1 of business is you don't crap where you live. Okay? And there's a bit of a tug of war sometimes when it comes to primaries. Unless you're running like against a Mitt Romney who doesn't represent anything your base believes at all, then you should just go scorched earth against him all along. I did, and it worked. But unfortunately, the candidates didn't do that after they left Iowa, so it didn't. But if it's somebody within your base, you don't want to necessarily go scorched earth against them because you need them and their supporters when it's over to rally around you and support you, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a tension there. There is no win here. If Oz wins this thing, the cost will be so high. I'm telling you right now, he will not win that general election. I don't care what the environment is, won't happen. He'll lose. But there's a way you could have done this that wouldn't create that residual anger, resentment. And you didn't have to go after her personally. Just ask her to better flesh out her positions on the issues. You're a fantastic story, fantastic testimony. We love having you in the Republican Party. We need more of you, obviously. But we're not running for spokesperson or pitchman, right? Is that the office we're running for?
No.
No, it's not. We're not running for development director. No? What are we running for? Senator. So where are you at on the nuances of the issues? Because that's what you're going to be voting on. The nuances of the issues. Have you really researched these things? You don't have a record. Try to flesh that out. Make her defend her belief system with more detail and aggressively. See, in a way, you're letting her off the hook by doing this, actually. That's what's kind of funny. If I was running the Kathy Barnette campaign, I just told you how I'd feel if I was running is it Mark McCormick or Dave McCormick? It's Dave, isn't it? Dave. If I was the Dave McCormick campaign, I'd be like, you know what, you guys, by all means, man, and here's more blood in the water. I'll put my candidate on Mark Levin's show, and we're just going to run for Senate while you guys fight this out in the last few days. I'd be ecstatic to see this. On the other hand, if I was in the Barnette candidate campaign, I'd actually want to be attacked in this realm. Because if there's one thing I think that my candidate can do, it's tell her story. You know what I'm saying? Give me every opportunity to tell her story. What I'm probably not sure my candidate can do is hold court long form, in depth on the nuances of the issues and defend that. But soundbite fights and, dude, you want to pick a soundbite fight with the woman who came out with that 2-minute pro-life video last week? As Lucius Fox said in The Dark Knight, good luck. I mean, if I was running the Barnette campaign, I'm like, wow, we might actually win this thing. They want to fight with us about who does a better job and more effective and honest job about telling their personal story, me or Mehmet Oz. I'll take those odds. But here's the problem. And this is why the Oz campaign could not do this tactic. Do you know why the Oz campaign could not go after her on the depth and details of the issues? Do you know why?
Because there's no depth or detail in their issues?
And on the issues where there is depth and detail, it's all bad.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The Oz campaign could not have a debate on issues. They could not do that because he's on the wrong side of every single issue. And it's on tape with 100% name ID. So they couldn't actually launch what might have been the more effective strategy, because that's a double-edged sword. I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say about me bounces off me and sticks to you, right? I mean, at that point, she's just like pot, kettle. He can't win that. So they had no choice but this hackery. Which gets me to my morality lesson of the day. It is technically Theology Thursday. I don't know, we'll get to it now. If you cannot advance your candidate by any means other than complete and total hackery, don't support that candidate. This has been my TED Talk. Enjoy your day.
Then there's no Republican Party, though.
Nice. But hey, the Rick Grinnells and Sean Hannity's of the world, they played themselves. They put themselves in that corner. Did someone put a gun to your head and say, hey, man, you've got to put your credibility on the line for transhumanist Mehmet Oz? It was either them or their children. They had no options there? No?
No.
So they did this of their own volition and their own free will?
It appears so.
So they're not victims?
No.
Then you played yourself. And if I'm Jeff Rowe in the McCormick campaign over there, man, I hope this goes on for another 4 or 5 days, because I'll just be over here running for Senate while you guys are doing this thing over here. Okay? Let's talk about what we're going to do with Theology Thursday. I've made an executive decision.
Oh, thank God.
Okay. We are going to do 2 more weeks with Atlas's book. Because the next chapter is when Trump actually does meet the counter experts, many of whom we had on this show during 2020.
Yes.
And I think that that needs to be a conversation the audience needs to hear us have.
Okay.
Because so that Trump's without excuse here. He did meet with these people. Atlas did bring them into the White House. He was given the life raft. He was given the cheat code to get the hell out of this, and then chose not to take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the audience, we need to have that conversation. And then we'll do one more when we get into Atlas's conclusion. Because I can't bring myself to relive the last few weeks of the 2020 election again. And that's after the next chapter. That's what all the chapters until the conclusion are. I can't do it. I don't think, if I can't do it, I doubt you
Bless
can.
you, my son.
So we're going to do 2 more weeks next week, 2 more weeks of Atlas's book. And then we'll close that book and hopefully.
This is your no-mas moment.
Yes, I'm tapping out. Don't ever tell Scott Atlas I said this. Hopefully we never open that thing ever again. All right? We'll come back with 3 non-political questions here next. All right, back here on the Steve Deace Show, live and on demand here on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. If you're a pet owner, you love your puppy. It's a big part, your dog is, of your home, of your family. And so you want to do more for it than just feeding it and giving it water. You want to make sure it's as healthy and happy as can be. And that's where Rough Greens comes in. It's the supplement for your pet that it needs for the same reasons that we need and are using so many supplements these days, because a lot of that stuff is stripped out of our food, the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients we need before it ever leaves the factory. Well, same thing happens to our pet's food as well. And Rough Greens puts it right back in there with this green powder you mix in with the food your pet loves, and you put the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients it needs back into its diet. But you might be wondering, what if my dog won't like it? I mean, our dog Kappa loves it, but maybe your dog won't. Or does it even work? Will you see a difference? Well, let's find out. We'll give you the first 14-day Jumpstart bag for free when you go to roughgreens.com, RUFF for roughgreens.com, RUFF for roughgreens.com. Or you can call them at 833-RUFF-DOG. That's 833-RUFF-DOG. I want to share one more thing here on the Kathy Barnette thing, and then we'll move on. Okay, because if there's one person that I know, I'm sure there are lots of people that detest politicians more than even I do. But if there's one person I know that does, meaning I know this person personally, it is our good friend Shannon Joy. Fair? I mean, what were you saying there?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, there are times when we've had her on that even we have groaned and we're like, ugh. Okay? To which she would take that as a massive compliment, by the way.
It's simultaneously annoying and endearing.
Yes, it is. If you can come on this show and cause us to be like, oh, okay, then we have nothing to say other than, God bless you, my sister. Okay? She just tweeted this to me. And I think given the source, it bears you hearing it. I met Kathy Barnette almost a decade ago at CPAC, and we spent a good amount of time together. We've kept in touch since then over the years, and I can say she is the exact same person I met years ago. She's smart, sincere, genuine, loves liberty, and will defend life. And the attacks on her are disgusting. Is that the first candidate for public office that Shannon Joy has ever defended in all the years we have known that woman?
That glowingly, for sure.
Yeah. Which is why I thought it bared sharing with this audience. All right, now let's move on. It's time for 3 non-political questions.
We all have questions.
Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? Who am I? A search and a question of identity. Why am I here? A question of meaning and purpose. Where am I going? Question of destiny.
Some better than others.
What sort of morality or proto-morality would you expect to find in a chimpanzee troop?
Injecting some levity into the demise of Western civilization. It's 3 questions on the Steve Deace Show.
Yes, a break, maybe a little respite from reconsidering refinancing your house in order to fill your tank with gasoline. It's 3 non-political questions. Good thing you did that just last year, Steve.
No doubt. We got in, man, right at the buzzer, didn't we?
Exactly.
Yes.
What is it seemed appropriate this week in the Midwest. We went from, I kid you not, 2 weeks ago, I saw a few snowflakes. They weren't sticking, but snowflakes to we've had now. This is going to be our 3rd or 4th day of 90-degree temperatures in a row. It has flipped the switch to summer. What is your Mount Rushmore of summer?
The 4 things I love about summer the most?
Yep.
I love summer movie season. I mean, I love working out in the yard in the heat, taking a shower, going in to the coldness of the theater, escaping for a couple of hours. I just love that juxtaposition. You know what I'm saying? Of getting some sun and then going in and escaping into the darkness and the coolness of the theater with the tub o' corn. And I love that. I love grilling season. I mean, I believe I have to answer that.
Yeah.
Right? I could be excommunicated right here. I might, or as Todd says, I may have excommunicated myself
Your
if
list
I didn't mention
instantly
that.
comes under intensified scrutiny if it's not
I've
on it.
clearly committed a mortal sin if I don't at least list that, of omission at least. So who doesn't love grilling season? I love that. I love that no one has ever called me. I've not had a young driving child or a wife ever call me to say, I drove my car off the road because the road was too hot. I'm in a ditch. Can you come help me? I like that. I love the idea that can go anywhere and do anything and not be limited by weather and those sorts of things. And then I have to give you a classic Steve Deace answer, okay? The other thing I love about it is the anticipation for college football season. Like I love sitting out in the sun with the college football magazines. And I think you and I have talked before, Aaron, that the lead up to the season and trying to envision what might happen might almost be as good as the season itself.
Yeah.
And so I love doing that. That's a big part of what I love about summer as well. So those would be my 4.
It used to be baseball, but killing me, Smalls. But it's grilling, of course. It's heat. I mean, and like we're having right now, 90-degree heat. The seasons are very, very good for the soul, all of them. They teach us a lot about God's design if we stop whining about them and embrace how things work. Cold, cheap beer. My palate definitely the change of the temperatures definitely changes things. And so when I drink beer in the winter, it's more like a higher end IPA or something like that. But like, there's nothing as good as just a nice Miller Lite on a hot 90-degree day. If that makes me a criminal, I don't want to be right. And 4th, what would be 4th? Oh goodness. Well, watching my girls over the years, it doesn't happen anymore. But the sound of the crickets as the sun is coming down and the girls playing in the yard and doing and there's you don't have to get them for bed, and that stuff is pure nostalgia to me. And now that they're all older and not doing that stuff, that makes me a little wistful.
That's a good list.
That's a good list, man.
That's
America right there.
That's America.
Yeah.
Mine is
at least what it used to be.
Similar to yours, Steve. Although on the last one, I am a little conflicted this year because I feel like we've waited so long for warmer temperatures, the warmth of summer, that I actually just said to Bella last night, I can't wait for football season.
And she slapped you.
No, I kind of slapped myself also because I'm like, but I don't want it to be necessarily even fall again yet. So number 1 is grilling, of course. Just got a new grill. Grilled some steaks on Sunday, grilled some brats last night. That was excellent. The being outside and getting hot it's underrated. And I think in the Midwest, we underrate that by the time summer comes to an end. We do. Like on Monday, first day of 90-degree temperatures, I think. Went out after work. Don't have a self-propelled lawnmower. It's just a push lawnmower, which is great. More manual labor. That's something I was looking forward to, and having a yard and garden and stuff to take care of when I got my house. I stopped, though, at one point. I'm getting really tired. It wasn't until I came into the house where I was like, I'm not just tired, I'm dizzy. I should probably sit down a little bit. That's fun. That's a good time right there, because it means you're actually working hard. So getting out in the sun, getting a nice sunburn, that's a good thing. New for me, though, I expected the basement to warm up a little bit, but mercifully, it has not. It is still like 60 degrees.
I have to sit in a blanket in my basement in the summertime.
I have too as well.
And I love that, by the way.
And that's what I'm saying. I have the basement that I like really. It's not one of those with a walkout patio. No, it's underground. Like there are hardly any windows whatsoever. So the basement is that. And then probably the last thing about summer is just going outside and watching. When thunderstorms come, just watching the sky.
Yeah.
And watching the light.
That's a good put too.
Light up.
All right, before we get to question 2, let me make sure I mention on the way out here our good friends over at Built Bar, because they are the single greatest protein bar of all time with no close second. So many great flavors. The flavor and richness and fullness of flavor and texture of a candy bar. In fact, I think it's better. They're better than a lot of the candy bars that are on the market. A huge assortment of flavors, all of them covered in real chocolate. I haven't mentioned this lately because the guys tease me when I do, but let me say it again, because now I'm finding ways to take them with me when I travel, even when it's hot. I find if I insulate it enough in my bag, they don't melt, okay? It's easy on the tummy. And hey, man, when you're dealing with a supplement, that does matter, okay? And this is a protein supplement. They're not always easy on the tummy. They're not always easy to digest. This one is. It's the absolute full package. You can try it right now and get 10% off your order when you use my last name, Deace, as your promo code, DEACE. Do you know that almost all of these are 140 calories or less? This is like stealing, guys. All right? It's like stealing. You won't believe how good they are. Promo code Deace to try it for the first time or try it for the next time. When you go to Built.com, BUILT for Built Bar, Built.com, use the promo code Deace to get 10% off.
Question 2, Tom Brady is set to join the Fox NFL team when his career comes to an end in the year 2109. Of the current crop of broadcasters, though, which is your dream? What combination would be your dream team for an NFL, for just any NFL game? It can be 2 or 3 people. What's your all-time, though, dream team for an NFL football game?
I kind of think Nance and...
Yep. I was going to say Nance. I don't know who.
Nance and Tony
Romo,
I'm sorry, are kind of close to perfect. I mean, Nance's kind of elegant understatedness and Romo's exuberance. And if we're just looking at current team ups, I think they're kind of a perfect team.
But just current? Aren't you saying all time?
Then both.
Yep.
Oh.
If I could do both, it would be Brett Musburger and Keith Jackson doing a college football game.
NFL, though.
Oh, it's NFL.
This is NFL.
Oh, well, then you have to have Madden in there.
My answer would change if it was
if it's all time. If it's in the NFL, wasn't Summerall and Madden a version of what I just said? Nance and Romo were.
My answer was going to be Summerall and
I mean,
Madden.
they were the perfect tandem. Again, elegant understatedness and way more even exuberance than what Romo brings to the table in Madden. So I would say that real life duo was it.
You know, I see Aikman and what's his face all the time as a Packer fan.
Joe Buck.
Joe Buck. I'm kind of curious. Am I missing something? I don't understand Joe Buck hatred.
I don't either. I think he's really good at his job.
Yeah. I
get why people don't like Tim McCarver because he does talk way too damn much. I get that gets in the way of the game, but he's also covering baseball where there's a lot of holes.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Baseball's different. I honestly think, like, how many times have you actually turned off a game because you didn't like the end? This is where sports broism. It's just.
I think the knock on Buck is that during the early part or maybe first half of his career, He never got super excited during big plays, which Summerall, wasn't he the same way as well?
Absolutely.
I think Buck has changed a little bit though.
He doesn't have to though when he had Madden there, but yeah.
I mean, honestly, they're fine to me. I've never once think, oh man, I wish these guys weren't doing it. So I'll just say the guys that call most of my games.
Okay.
I'd say Nance and Collinsworth for me. That would be kind of an odd pair, but those are the two that I like the most right now. And then all time, I would say Nance is probably up there all time for me, and Madden. That's an easy one. If it was college football, I'd say Gus Johnson and Kirk Herbstreit all day long. But that's not the question. Question number 3. Crap, I just realized that I meant to have a video edited because it required some editing. There's this Twitch streamer. You quote tweeted this video this morning, Todd. There's this Twitch streamer, this lady girl person who is doing a live stream of her cooking something. She caught some oil on fire, tried to put it out with water. She started screaming for help. I don't know what to do. She's fine. Everything's fine. It was hilarious, though, because she had no clue what she was doing. Anyway, what's the closest you've ever come to burning down a house accidentally?
Closest I've ever come to burning down a house accidentally? Wow. I mean, I've come close to some stupid things. I don't know that that's ever happened for me, actually. I can't think of a singular example of me coming close to burning down the house.
I have a couple of examples.
Okay, I can come up with one. All right. I have one. Okay. How do I put this? When we were newlyweds in our apartment, we were in the middle of cooking dinner, and some spontaneous newlywed activity began to occur. And we ended
the meat dried out a little bit.
We ended up seeing it through to completion. And then all of a sudden, the smoke detector starts going off in the kitchen.
Some dried chicken.
Because we forgot that we had left everything on the stove that was still cooking and boiling and everything steaming over. And we had to put, mini fires out. It wasn't too bad, though. I don't think it was close to burning the place down, but that's the closest I can think of.
That's a good story. It's a great story.
Okay. I grill outside, old grill. Last time I used that grill, went inside, got things started, went out inside to get whatever I was getting, came back out, and like flames were shooting out the side. Yeah. And thankfully the grill was just far away enough from the siding that it didn't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was close.
Yeah, the same thing happened. That's why I got a new grill. Same thing happened to me last spring or summer. It was just it's a tricky thing because you want to have all that char and stuff inside your grill because that's what gives the meat its flavor, but at the same time kind of got to clean that stuff out because you can start a grease fire. So that's one story. Another story, I was young. My sister likes to remind me of this, and playing with a light or something, and I just shoved it into the carpet and it started smoking, and I got afraid or scared. Fortunately, she smelled it or something, and there's still to this day a hole in the carpet at the house where I grew up in. So,
hey, I'm going to be in North Carolina tomorrow. I'll still be doing the show, but I'm doing a couple of speaking engagements there this weekend. I'll be at Prime Barbecue in Knightdale in the Raleigh-Durham Raleigh-Durham area, starting at 6 p.m. Friday. And then at the Clubhouse of Abington in Harrisburg, that's the Charlotte area, at 5 p.m. on Saturday. So come by and say hello. John 3:17.